After the update 1.4, I think it's time to talk about the new Sophy AI. The real question is, why is Sophy so important and what's the actual difference does it make in a racing game like Gran Turismo? So AI in racing games isn't exactly the best, or over the years it wasn't exactly the best thing, and if you're just playing single player mode, sometimes it can feel like it's too boring, too easy, and it's not like a human-like behavior. And that's why sometimes AI is actually crashing into you instead of giving you the space and acting like an actual human. So Sony decided to take quite a huge step into the future, and they decided to bring Sophy AI. So why is it so important? The explanation comes from neural networks and how in general AI systems are made. So I believe neural networks can be explained like they are algorithms modeled like a human brain. Not exactly like a human brain, but they are designed to recognize patterns and to learn from the data that is provided in the game. In this case, it's provided in the game. So you run a multiple test and the AI actually learns from the data in the game. So to be quite honest with you, I'm not exactly 100% sure how Sophy was made, but what I do know is that machine learning in general requires a lot of processing power. And in general, neural networks, to be exact, they use a lot of CPU, GPU, or they're initially called TPU. And to be exact with you, PlayStation 5 is the only console that is compatible with the current AI. That's maybe the reason why PlayStation 4 isn't capable of doing something like this, because it requires a lot of processing power. Most of the, in the future, Sophy will most likely be just for PlayStation 5 and newer consoles, because it requires a lot of power to run. And I think it's the most important thing that we tested on the track, and that's exactly what I did. I first tested AI in Gran Turismo race. It was Road Atlanta, and from what I can see from the screen that I was taking this, I actually wanted to go flat out. I decided to, this time, I'm gonna go for it, and these facial expressions, or whatever they call them, not actually facial expressions, emoji expressions, are just explaining how the AI feels or thinks in that specific moment. And as I was going around the circuit, I realized that when you overtake AI, like it was in the past, it has this not exactly great facial expression, and it's kind of sad and angry at the same time. But at the same time, you can see that I almost got a contact with the Honda, or actually I did, but the AI actually tried to avoid me. So it wasn't going flat out into me, it wasn't just not thinking and retaining his line, actually tried to avoid me, which is something that this AI is trained to do. And I think later I realized that the AI was quite surprised of my movements. It wasn't exactly, I'm not gonna say that it acted like a human, but it was close to a human-like behavior, and it was quite sad when I was overtaking it. To be very specific with you, I went full pace. I really didn't think about AI being AI. Sometimes I really didn't give it that much space, but if I didn't give the AI that much space, AI gave it that to me. So you can see in this case, AI simply moved back and didn't really want to go into that kind of tough position. So not like this one where it said, okay, I'm just gonna give you the place, I'm gonna overshoot the corner slightly. It was still taking the right lines, but it didn't really want to take that much of a risk. So AI is probably telling itself, you know what, it's not worth the risk, he's probably faster than me, so I will most likely just, you know, give him the place and I will focus on my race, because in the end, that's the most efficient way to finishing a race. And actually, that's exactly what AI was doing in this place. So later, I realized that AI was on a different set of tires. So it's exactly, it wasn't prepared for the race like I was. I was in this case running racing soft tires, and they were on racing hard tires, which pretty much it makes a lot of difference in the end. But AI was simply quick. Even if it wasn't racing hard tires, it were retaining very efficient lines. It was very quick in some of the turns, and to me it seemed like maybe it was too slow. I really didn't know what to think about it, but it just wasn't slow. It was on different tires, but it was still quick. It was still more, I wouldn't call it as quick as I expected it to be, but I think it's not aggressive like exactly. I think we had an online event with Sophy, and it was really aggressive, but this was kind of moved down a little bit and not exactly as aggressive as it was. So I finished my race and I won this race, which was quite surprising. I didn't really expect to win the first one. And then later, and you can see that I'm just aggressively going into some turns with the AI. It wasn't exactly something that I wanted to do, but I did it. In this case, I was on the straights more or less. It really depended on the car, but I was in general more consistent and faster than the AI. It wasn't exactly, as I say, like a human-like behavior. It wasn't like a stretched out field. It wasn't every car. It wasn't the same, but it was close to being the same. That's why you can see Corvette is pulling out into the distance on the straight, but then in the corners I can overtake it with ease because it's simply not as efficient in the corners as my car was. So I was driving the Lexus LFA and it was really good in the corners, but it wasn't actually that great on the straight line. And you can see once again these facial expressions are showing that the AI is kind of surprised when you overtake it, or actually when you get closer to it in the corners, for example, it's kind of starting to get really angry, not exactly in the perfect position for the AI. So it was kind of fun to watch these facial expressions, and I was actually quite surprised by the pace of the guy in the first place, or the AI in the first place. So it took me about 2 laps to catch on to it. Usual AI doesn't take this long. It's quite easy to overtake the usual AI, and I do have to say that I don't think I maxed out my drive rating in online races at 100,000k, but I believe it's at about 97,000. So I can say that I'm quite experienced driver, and it took me still a lot of effort to do something like that. And then I decided to do something different, and I added an additional challenge to myself, and that was change the tires to sport hard tires. And this definitely made the experience a lot different and of course a lot harder. I wasn't actually expecting that the AI was gonna be so quick at this point, but it was performing. It was actually really quick. And then when you realize that you were not on the same set of tires, and that's why you make the whole challenge easy. So if you want to make yourself I would say a challenge, use the same tires as the AI is using. But if you don't really have the ability to beat it on the same set of tires, you can just buy better tires. For example, you can buy racing soft tires and you'll be about 34 seconds quicker per lap, and then most likely you will beat the AI. Because I'm not exactly sure why they made it like this. I think it was only because the testing was done with sport tires with these road cars. If you get a different car like a GT3, GT4 cars, they will most likely, if not all of the time, they will use racing hard and racing medium tires. Not exactly sure how they decide which tires to use, but I think it's based on BOP. I cannot be 100% sure on that, but I guess that's the reason why in some of the turns the AI is a little bit quicker or a little bit slower. And of course you can watch the replay to actually see what tires is the AI using at that specific point. And you can see in this case I was watching this video, and it was actually very aggressive. The AI didn't really want to get me that line. I went onto the grass and it was still quite aggressive. So I'm not going to give you that place because you really need to work for that place, and I'm not going to move. You're going on the outside, and that's not going to happen. So it's thinking. The AI is thinking at that specific point, what is the best possible solution to my problem? Or in this case, I don't want to lose the place. What should I do? I should give the guy some space, but he already went, for that move when it was too late. And that's exactly why AI wasn't moving that much. And when I started to push it a little bit, then it gave me a little bit of space, and then I kind of got onto that place. And it definitely wasn't easy. So for the first 2 laps, I was just trying. I was really trying to keep the car in line and overtake these guys in the best way possible. But then it was lap 3 out of 3. So this, I was actually quite struggling with the pace of this car, and it took me quite a while to catch on to the leader, and the leader was quite surprised. Didn't want to go for that move, but it kind of closed me down. The AI didn't really want to give me that much space, and AI probably knew I'm going to be faster on the straight, so I will most likely be able to defend, but that's not exactly what happened. I went for that move, I went for kind of a dive bump, but my car was still able to stop at that point. So I made the move. into the first place. And what I can tell you in the end, that this race definitely wasn't easy. It was one of the most difficult races that I've done with AI in any racing game, because in the same conditions it's difficult to beat it. It's definitely difficult to beat the AI, because it's definitely one of the most complex AIs that I've ever experienced. So it's not like the usual AI, it's just retaining his own line, it's not gonna give you that much space, and it's just not aware of its surroundings. So this AI, it's definitely one of the most advanced, if not the advanced AI in racing games overall, and it definitely gives you something to think about. How is this made? What are we thinking about when we're actually racing the AI, and what is AI thinking about us when we're racing it? So it's not gonna go into some crashes just, you know, just to retain his position and just to retain his line. It's gonna move, it's gonna think like a human. And no, if you're slow, AI isn't really gonna decrease its speed. I made a little test about it and it's definitely not doing it. So you need to be quick to beat this AI, or you can just change to a faster set of tires and you will most likely beat the AI. But if you're slow, AI isn't necessarily gonna be slower than you. So it will retain his speed, it will retain its lines, and it will most likely beat the common player. So it's not easy, it's not exactly 100% there, but I believe if we go with this approach in the future, I think this is gonna become one of the best, if not, I mean, it is right now, it is the best AI in racing games overall. So guys, I really hope that you enjoyed in this video, so please let me know what you think about it. And if you got anything to ask me, you can pretty much do it down in the comments. So until the next time, bye.